Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Johnny Sue is still spinning on the ones and twos. I want to say thank you to everybody who watched Fee's last stream, kind of explaining what happened today. It was a very rude awakening to wake up this morning to see that they're going to kneecap us, because it's not just about Fiorella, it's about the Convo Couch and our coverage on the ground. You know what I'm saying? She has a large following, close to 40,000 people on Twitter, and without any rhyme or reason, fam, they put the boot to us. Like I said, it doesn't just affect her individually, it affects us, it affects the information we're trying to get out there, it affects election integrity as far as I'm concerned. Right. And there are many avenues in which we can say this might be something a little bit more nefarious than just people reporting us, right, us or you or whatnot. There is I think a mechanism within the State Department, within our government, that doesn't want a lot of information going out about these elections, especially in Honduras. Since when in 2017 they did back the actual results that were projected, that were protested by many people. So it does seem awfully suspicious, fam. But if you want to recap on that real quick, please do so for the people out there.
You guys just saw the stream. I mean, first of all, please share this, because again, I can't share it from any of my accounts now except Convo Couch.
Yeah.
So, please go ahead and share it on YouTube. Share the YouTube link and the Rokfin link. Also, we have the fundraiser now more than ever. We really need your help, because we're being, of course, entirely suppressed on the Twitter sphere, Facebook and all that stuff. So like I said, I'm going to wait a day and then I'll figure out something else to do as far as the account goes. But by the way, I just confirmed again, somebody said that I was suspended because I shared what's happening in Australia. But that video is still up. The person who posted the original video is up. So that doesn't make sense as to why they would suspend me for sharing that tweet. Because the person who posted it originally has a video up. So that doesn't make sense. And I haven't posted anything that remotely violates their ridiculous standards. So it doesn't make any sense as to why I'm suspended. They did not give me a reason for the first suspension. They gave me a reason for the second one, saying that I was trying to avoid a ban, which, I mean, a permanent ban. When I'm like, I didn't know I was permanently banned. Is that what's happening here? Can you give me a reason? So, I'll be waiting a couple days and then we'll go from there. But for now, please share the streams because Twitter or YouTube doesn't notify people when we're live. So that's one of the reasons why it's so important for us to use social media to notify people when we're live.
And for all those people, when I made the tweet this morning sharing Fiorella getting blocked, the Twitter haters that were coming on there, oh my God, look at this is a conspiracy, because I said, I think the State Department likes shit like this happening. We talk about COINTELPRO, we talk about Operation Mockingbird. These are actual, programs that are in there with the CIA and the intelligence department, where they try to infiltrate every part of media, including social media. So it doesn't seem odd to me. It's not off the rocker to think that this is just more than just a bunch of nefarious jerk-offs kind of reporting on us and doing these things. So, we just have to keep our eyes and our ears open and just, do what we can do. Now, we are still going to Honduras. That trip is taking place. I just want to read a quick list of the people and say thank you, because during your last stream, fam, Rob Janot came and left a generous contribution. Thank you so much. I also want to say thank you to Patrick Stanton, Richard Kahn, thank you, Rich, Mark Ford, Richard Marino, Elizabeth Scott, James Johnson, another very nice one, and Misty. Thank you so much, Misty Bocher. That was a nice one. Pedro Molina, Diana Fonseca, and Anonymous. I love that person, Anonymous. He's great. Guys, get out there, share the link, help us out. We've just gotten started with this. We need your help getting there. and doing that. This is going to be a very intense trip. So you can count on the Convo Couch to scrutinize the election across the board. Once again, not caring who's on the ballot, who's running. We're there to look at the elections as the framework and the procedures and critique that. Thank you for everybody on YouTube, and thank you for everybody on Rokfin. Go ahead and share it. Trey Wright, of course, is the first one walking in the door. Trey, we love you. Love you all. Keep fighting, fam. We will keep fighting, especially with your help. Thank you so much. Let's get this rolling, fam. So, first story of the day. Your glasses?
Yeah, I need my glasses.
Okay, I'll start to read it real quick, and what we'll do is we'll play the video real quick. We just want to talk about the defendant found guilty. All three defendants were found guilty of murder in the Ahmaud Arbery case, the case in Georgia where the gentleman walked into a house that was being under construction and had no valuables in it and whatnot, checked it out. The owner of the house said he had no problem with this too as well. And then three people within the neighborhood showed up with guns, gunned him down, stood over him. One of them used a racial slur. Well, today I can say that justice has been served. And let's just take a look at the video. This is the actual, not the sentencing, but the verdict from the judge.
Madam Foreperson, I understand you have reached a verdict as to each defendant.
We have.
Please hand your verdict forms to the sheriff. Case number CR000433. Jury verdict form. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. I'm going to ask that whoever just made an outburst be removed from the court, please. As this court has indicated, I ask that there be no outbursts in the court, and I expect as much from the gallery. Please respect the court's desire for them to make a comment or otherwise demonstrate the courtroom now. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Dated this 24th day of November, 2021, signed by the foreperson. In the Superior Court of Glynn County, count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, not guilty. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. This 24th day of November, 2021, signed by the foreperson. Georgia versus William R. Bryan, case number CR 2000433, jury verdict form. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan not guilty. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan not guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan not guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant William R. Bryan guilty. Signed this 24th day of November by the foreperson.
Ma'am, your thoughts? I mean, had they found these men innocent, forget about it. I think they would have been rioting in the streets for sure, and justifiably so. These gentlemen, for me personally, and once again, I didn't dive into both of these cases like crazy. We're looking at other things too as well, but paying attention to this particular case, I thought the jury got it right for the counts of guilty.
Yeah, I mean, this was a modern day lynching. There was no justification at all for what happened in this case. You know, the guy was running, stopped, looked at a construction site, and he was literally lynched in daylight, and by people who had no reason to do that. And you know, the reality is this is a fair verdict. This is what should happen to these people who decided to, you know, and they were yelling obscenities and racial slurs while, you know, doing this. And it's this type of thing that I think people fear, like this type of people coming in and attacking certain people. I can't believe we still have to deal with it today, you know, that people are still attacking others for the color of their skin, you know. It's just like humans need to evolve much faster. I don't know what the hell's going on. Like, we shouldn't have to worry about stupid shit like that. But, you know, in this case, it was disgusting. We covered it a long time ago when it actually initially happened.
Played the videos.
So I'm very happy with this verdict. I think this is a silver lining in a very unjust system. It could have gone a completely different way, but it would have been hard to defend based on everything that was there. So
that's done. Like I said, I think we got this one right, you know what I'm saying? And I'm happy that the verdict came out this way.
Attorney, though.
What's that? Not that I'm aware of. So.
They were friends, cops.
They were, yeah.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, you just reminded me of that. So that is true, right? So I haven't heard anything about it. I just watched the verdict today, so, you know.
Yeah, we just kind of wanted to highlight the verdict because of what happened with, you know, Kyle Rittenhouse. And like I said, we should have our friend come on and chat with us about this verdict and why it differs from the other one. I mean, I think this case, like I said, is extremely clear. It was caught on video. And
I think a lot of people were fearful of a hung jury, so I'm glad it didn't happen. Like, that would have been really, really bad. So I'm glad it did not happen. I'm glad, in fact, we got the results we did, and now we can move on, pay attention to other things that are happening in the news and other cases and whatnot. And, you know, I think that I'm glad that this happened this way, because I didn't want to see a hung jury, because I thought it would have just been really unjust. And it could have caused a lot of problems and a lot of writing. So.
And a lot of times, like, when the media focuses on something, they find issues with the person, you know, like with Jacob Black. They found, you know, they try to grab dirt on the person just to get, you know, back. And that's kind of what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse, too. The people who attacked him were not necessarily, you know, the most stable people. So that definitely helped his case in terms of how people.
I remember Michael Brown, too. Remember that? How they were demonizing him and whatnot in his situation. Really had nothing to do with the situation at hand. Neither did here, this situation. Ahmaud Arbery was unjustly, his life was taken away from him. And I can say that justice was served here today. So we have to watch out for the sentencing, see when that's all going to be about. But it doesn't look like any of these gentlemen are going to get a cakewalk at all, fam. So By the way, Black in the Empire says, love y'all. Don't give up. We won't Black in the Empire. We love you. Thank you for all the great words. Thank you for the support, and we do appreciate it. Jackie Pagao says, stay strong, fam. You are all valued for the work you do. Sorry, the Bird app is coming after you. Fee. But sadly, they will be coming after all of us one day, and that's the truth. The goal, of course, is to silence the actual left, not the synthetic left. Because the synthetic left is the one who kind of piles on the bourgeois left. They're ridiculous.
Well, they're cops now. They're
Yeah.
CIA agents. They're the feds.
Snitches.
They're snitches. If they're not actual cops, then they, are little pawns to the cops. They're working at the behest of the state agency. And so once again, guys, I'm asking for you guys to share because we're being criminally suppressed on YouTube, on Twitter, everywhere. So
Wow. Another donation just came on in. This one was from TD 2 minutes ago. A very nice donation. Thank you so much, guys. We do have the GoFundMe up. If you can help out and you're in a position to, please do so. If you're not, don't worry about it. Just like, share, subscribe. Do all those things that you can do to help support us. Your word is just as much to us as actual financial help or monetary help. Don't get me wrong. We need dollars and cents to make these things happen. But more than anything, when you're in our corner and you're sharing our work, I did see a lot of people stick up for you on Twitter today, and it was really awesome seeing that our fans and our supporters and our friends are just out there, helping us out and getting our back, and that's really important to us. So thank you for just getting our back. Share the links, share the channel, share everything else, and then we can actually make it grow and make this thing happen. So fam, next part we got to talk about right now. We are going to Honduras, and why is this so important? Well, let's hear the fee reason why this election in 2021 in Honduras is so important.
well, because this election represents the fight back, the pushback from the Honduran people, the people of Honduras, who have been under a neoliberal regime that the U.S. backed in 2009, right? With the ousting of Manuel Zelaya. We've talked about it numerous times. We've interviewed people who have come through the caravans in Tijuana in 2017 and 2018 who were coming because their country is facing civil unrest, crime, because of our backing of this coup. And the thing is, politically, the U.S. and the West might not admit to that, but they did admit that they did not think Manuel Zelaya was the rightful leader, just like they've said the same thing about Daniel Ortega in Nicaragua, just like they said the same thing about Hugo Chavez and then Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, just like they say the same thing about Cuba. So they've been doing this forever. This is the regime change playbook that we've talked about numerous times. So the fact that Honduras is fighting back and their, anti-imperialist party is attempting to have an election and have supporters of who are rising up and running for office, like Manuel Zelaya's wife, Xiomara, is a big deal geopolitically, especially with what's happening with Nicaragua and the sanctions in Central America, especially with what happened with Bolivia recently and the attempted coup and the actual coup, and the regaining of the mass movement towards socialism in Bolivia, especially after the election of Pedro Castillo, especially with also Chile having an election. I don't think that election is going to go anywhere in terms of who wins, because the leftist candidate isn't as leftist as we think they are. And then also with what's happening in Brazil as well. So that's why I think it's, geopolitically it's important. I think as far as the movement of opposing Western imperialism, it's important. And also just what's to come with the relationships that build with China and Russia.
Yeah, it should be important to the patriots out there who say they want to build a wall. They don't want migration coming here. Well, when this particular government took over last time, and it doesn't make a difference who's in office, right, fam? Republican or Democrat. Obama's State Department with Hillary Clinton removed Manuel Zelaya. In 2017, we'll get to it too as well. The Trump administration backed the actual results, of this freaking beyond flawed. I mean, this was ridiculously flawed election. Very much similar to the situations that we had too as well. We'll point it out. But I like the way the West, I'm saying this very facetiously or sarcastically, the West is already starting to frame this as, oh my Lord, this is about China relationships. We don't want the pro-China government to win, right? So with the Honduras election just days away, the West is already showing their support for the neoliberal government. And it was in Reuters, so we like to go to those mainstream media outlets out there that you love so much, everybody. And we like to point this out, you know what I'm saying? That's something that's very, very big when it comes to Democrats or Republicans. You know, Democrats in the House are still like anti-China as well. But this particular article in Reuters said, rivals for Honduras presidency hold final rallies before vote eyed by Taiwan and China, fam. They go right into it, and then they start framing one side as like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? Like, we can't let these pro-China people win, and if they do, you have to watch them. Yes, this is a couple days ago, the 22nd. So top contenders to be the next president in Honduras held boisterous final rallies over the weekend, 1 week ahead of an election that could end diplomatic support for Taiwan and the Central American country if the leftist candidate wins, fam. On Monday, a visiting U.S. diplomat called for a free, fair, and transparent elections following a meeting with Honduran Electoral Authority, the CNE, in a fresh sign of an American interest in the November 28th vote. First of all, I don't want to say that the CNE is the Honduran Electoral Authority. Honduran Electoral Authority. They're not. They're a group that goes into all these other places to observe these elections. They're not in the corner of Honduras. So it's already the framing, the way it goes is already bullshit. Should poll leader Xiomara Castro of the leftist opposition Libre Party beat the ruling national party's Nasra Asfura and put an end to its dozen-year run in power, she would also become the first woman president in Honduras. We're going to take out the dictatorship, she thundered on Sunday before the thousands of supporters in downtown, I can't say the capital. Thank you so much. In a nod to the bitterly disputed re-election of ongoing President Juan Orlando Hernandez in 2017. And fam, this is why it's so important, I think, to get boots on the ground for this particular election, because the 2017 election was so freaking flawed that even the OAS called for new elections. The OAS was like, yo, man, this is so bad that we even got to call for new elections. So it just tells you what happened right there. And it says right here, the Honduran president was declared the winner, but the OAS calls for a new election. Your thought about that? And that was in 2017.
So even the OAS called for a new election.
Even the OAS called, said, wait a second, this is so fucked up, but we need new elections.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like the OAS has been instrumental in overthrowing, regimes. So the fact that they said that this needed a new election, I don't know. I would have liked to have been there. I would have liked to see what actually went on. Many progressives or people that were on the ground said that election was fugazi, that there were computer issues in that election. So
yes,
yeah.
What had happened was that they were doing tallies and for the vote, and the opposition party at the time, which was the Libre Party, was ahead by almost 5 percentage points with about 57% of the votes in. All of a sudden they stopped, they delayed, they stopped counting, the machines went down. These are the tally machines, they're saying. And then a couple days later, like 36 hours later, all of a sudden, that 5 percentage point lead was dwindled down to almost nothing. And by the very end, by Wednesday of that week, Juan Orlando Hernandez was declared the victor by 50,000 votes. It was just something that was like, wait a second, we've seen this before. Stop the counting. We're not winning. Let us do some shit.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it happens. So this is in Mexico City. It says the Honduran, did I say that right? Honduran Electoral Commission on Sunday declared President Juan Orlando Hernandez the victor in a bitterly contested race. But the Organization of American States called for a new election, arguing that the vote was so riddled with irregularities that it was impossible to be sure of a winner. The Electoral Commission, which is controlled by allies of Mr. Hernandez, said he had won by 50,000 votes over the opposition candidate, Salvador Nostrala. So the thing I want to point out over here is now you have the OAS even saying it's bad. You have all these people, the people were taking to the streets, going crazy, but yet the Trump administration backed the Honduran president despite the vote controversy.
Right.
This is what I'm talking about. So this is why in the back of my mind, when Donald Trump was up there complaining about what was going on with the stopping of the voting, in the back of my mind, I was like, that's funny because in Honduras, you went there and you backed the opposition, even if the OAS, and this is what I mean, when it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. When it benefits them, they'll go along with the OAS. When it doesn't benefit them, oh, the hell with the OAS. we're going to back this leader over here because it benefited the corporations, it benefited the Trump campaign, it benefited John Bolton and all these other assholes. And now, do you really have a foot to stand on, fam? Do you have a case to be made when you're going to sit there and you're going to support fraudulent elections that were, even the OAS goes, yo, they were so out of whack. But the Trump administration, they were like, go ahead, shut up. We're going to back them up anyways, fam.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's why, you know, Trump is part of this whole thing. Like, he's never going to bring you election integrity. Neither are the people that play their role in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. I mean, they're gangsters. They rig elections. Both of them do. And they do it in various ways, which is why they should have zero say in what another country does, or zero interest in what another country's elections turn out to be. The only reason they're interested is because they don't want to lose another, allied type of Western pro-imperialist government. Yep. They don't want to lose that. So that's why they're interested.
They're there for the behest of corporations to go in there, rape the resources, put people on the monetary fund that they want, enact austerity measures and whatnot, and not let the people survive and thrive in a socialist government. And that's what Manuel Zelaya was. They removed him because that was Obama. And here's Trump coming out, and now he's doing the same thing, supporting the opposition. Now, we kind of spoke of what happened in the 36-hour delay. But I want you to hear from the people, and this is from Al Jazeera a couple of years ago. Honduras elections, tensions high as vote count delayed. So let's take a look at this video here so you can see from the people. This is from the next one. I'm so sorry. There it is. From Al Jazeera. Let's check out this little cool video. You can see what the people on the streets were saying and get a little sense of what was going on.
It's been 4 days since the presidential elections in Honduras. These people say they're gathering in the capital to defend their vote.
We are challenging the results. Salvador Nasrallah won, but the electoral tribunal is corrupt and is defending the interests of the president and betraying the Honduran people. We won't allow these elections to be stolen like happened in the past. Our vote won't be stolen.
Both President Juan Orlando Hernández and his TV star opponent Salvador Nasrallah claimed victory after Sunday's election. Initially, the result first favored Nasrallah and then swung towards Hernández after a hold-up in the count.
There are remote municipalities that have not been tallied and their votes have not been counted. There lies the victory of our party, because rural areas vote in favour of the Nationalist Party.
Honduras has one of the highest murder rates in the world, and there are fears that the current political crisis will increase the violence that already exists in this Central American nation.
No quiero ni pensarlo, ¿verdad?
I don't even want to think about it, but I fear this could get worse than during the coup in 2009. I'm afraid for my children, my family and my wife. I hope candidates respect the results.
The Organization of American States managed to have both candidates sign a statement where they vow to respect the final results once the disputed votes are checked. But Nasrallah later rejected the agreement, saying the government is trying to steal the election, and urged his supporters to take to the streets. Protesters set up barricades and clashed with the police that used tear gas to disperse them.
The next president, whoever wins, is going to be in a weak position because of the thin margin and the suspicion around the election. Hernández will be accused of winning through fraud and being illegitimate, and Nasrallah will have the institutions against him.
Honduras is already battling poverty and crime. Political instability could easily deteriorate the situation here even further. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera.
This is a reason why a lot of people come from Honduras, a lot of young people. Remember when they sang in some of the caravans, there's a lot of young men because of what happens here with these situations. In these protests, over 30 people were killed. And it was a lot of young people who feel that this type of neoliberal government has turned their back on them and not given them any opportunities to grow in Honduras. So what do? They flee to the country that's here, which is backing that oppressive government, fam.
Yeah, and that's the worst part, right? People then flee to America thinking that America is going to be their saving grace. And for many years, for a lot of people, it was. But it's like a serial killer, ruining your life, and you don't know who the serial killer is, right? And so you blame somebody else, or you escape, and you escape into the arms of the person who actually was the serial killer. That's what the United States is in terms of what they're doing. The government, the military-industrial complex, but even more than that, the state agencies that manipulate who is deemed a enemy of the state and who isn't. And we're seeing that manifested in the United States through social media, through censorship, through the persecution of journalists. And we're seeing that manifest through, calling elections fraudulent when they're not, or saying they're valid when they're not. And so that's why we're doing the work we're doing. And I mean, we could go back to a few years ago when we interviewed a gentleman who came from the caravans and said, we had health care, we had rising wages for workers, we were doing great. Then came in Hillary Clinton and the United States, and she ruined the things that we had. We had these socialist type of government that we really enjoyed, and now my country is shit, and that's why I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So that is a fact. You can't deny that happened. Yeah. So it's really sad to see, and this is why we do what we do. We want to protect countries that are away from the imperialist, boot of the United States. But if there was some corruption, we would say so. There has been no corruption that we have seen thus far in Nicaragua when the elections went through. We're definitely going to be needing to look at the tabulation more closely this time in Honduras, because that is a very important aspect that we didn't even get to touch very much in Nicaragua. So we're gonna really look out for that this time.
Yeah, I'd like to have a simulation in the United States of the Nicaraguan elections, of how everything's set up, and actually do that and let people see what it's like. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of patriots and conservatives would be happy with that, the whole situation they have over there. But some, Democrats and leftists should be happy too as well, because this is what really affects them. When you have systems that are really flawed and you can just gain the system each way, the grassroots are always going to suffer. The people are always going to suffer. The power will maintain their power because they can game the system. I have a tweet over here, and it was kind of funny when we did that video. When we were talking about the gentleman who knew exactly what was going on the border, we played a clip of a woman crying about Manuel Zelaya getting removed in the middle of the night in his pajamas, taken out by a coup. Fam, do you want to read the Spanish one, or do you want to read the English one? Or should I read the English one?
No, just read the English.
I like when you read it in Spanish. Mobilizations this Sunday. This is Manuel Zelaya, and this is going back to December 2nd, 2017. Route of the SPS, Monument of the Mother to the Central Park. I can't say the capital again. I will try it again later. From the maternal and child to the presidential home. Compatriots all to a public squares nationwide to lower this dictatorship. And that was Manuel Zelaya telling people to mobilize, getting people going. It was crazy there. There was a lot of deaths. There was a lot of murders. Yep. A lot of people fled. It was a crazy situation. So that's why we are going there to take a look. And now I have this over here. Bam, this was a cool article that was out. There are 10 things to look at, to watch for in the Honduras 2021 elections. I'm just going to kind of go through them. Number one, it's a winner-take-all election on November 28th. Plurality
wins.
Thank you so much. Rules in Honduras, meaning there will be no runoff to decide the presidential victor. Whoever gets the most votes on Sunday, whoever it is, that will be the winner. 11 other official presidential candidates are there too. One will win a 4-year term. Two, there are 5.2 million registered voters allowed to vote in this election. So that's something we have to pay attention to, is the total count. How many people participate? Is it easy for them to participate? Is it harder for them to participate? We will take a look. The 2009 coup still cast a long shadow over the election. In other words, they've had results come in before where they gotten, their leader, but then he was removed. Mm-hmm. And I think that stigma is still there for him. A lot of people kind of lost hope. It's like, what does it mean if we can elect a leader we want when he could just easily be removed by the West and their allies? So that is hanging over their shoulders. Same with the 2017 elections as well. Once again, not only one point did they get Manuel Zelaya removed, on the second time, in 2017, they had their elections swiped and they believe it was fraudulent. So now I think there's a lot of doubt from a lot of people in Honduras to think that, man, do these elections even matter? If they can remove our elected officials, if they can take the election, fam, then what are we to do? So hopefully that won't deter a lot of people to go out and vote for the Libre Party, who is the party that is very much praised. Manuel Zelaya's wife, Zamara, is running and whatnot. The National Party candidate is looking to expend their power with the popular but potentially corrupt Asfura. So once again, this government that's in there right now, The government that was, when it came to Juan Orlando Hernandez, is frowned upon by a lot of people. So we'll see what happens as well. And if they do keep power, what does that mean for China? What does that mean for Taiwan? You know, all that shit going on. The geopolitics in this are very, very deep and nuanced. The opposition appears to have consolidated around Xiomara Castro. Just like what we saw in Nicaragua, there was a lot of, alliances formed. This is something that's happened right here as well. A person told me the other day that Xiomara should win in a landslide, but we never know. We have to go through the process. So let's see if that makes anything. The Hondurans' enthusiasm about this election and democracy are low. Like I said, if they're going to remove their leader that was democratically elected, if they're going to fix another election or have a lot of fugaziness about it, a lot of people are going to be like in America.
Right.
They're not going to believe in the process.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. The presidency isn't the only post being filled. There are other elections, 128 members of the National Council. So we have the National Congress. We have to pay attention to that. Unemployment, corruption, poverty, and COVID-19 are the top issues. That are the big issues over there. I know healthcare comes into play. I know education comes into play. But the poverty there is really bad. The corruption there is awful. So it's one of the top issues. And we'll see how that goes. And the election has foreign policy implications. We talked about this. Foreign policy up to yin-yang. Whether it be about, the Libre Party being pro-Beijing, close with China, having them coming for infrastructure if they get a hold of the presidency, versus like the party that's there right now, which is close ties to Taiwan and whatnot. Also, we talked about Nicaragua. Trading in South and Central America, that's going to have a big part to play with the results of this election. I know a lot of people in Nicaragua that are pro-Sandinista, right, are very much hoping that Xiomara could win this election, fam.
Yep.
It's very, very important. Right. There's a lot to do with this election.
Yeah, exactly. I think the foreign policy implications are one of the most important aspects of this race, particularly because of what the United States is doing to sanction Nicaragua and to sanction the family members of Daniel Ortega and to impede any of them from coming into the United States, any Nicaraguan government official from coming into the United States, particularly with what's happening with COVID and the censorship, the mandates, the inability for us to report, all of that together. It's because there are foreign policy implications happening right now that would be a detriment to the interests that the United States has. So,
thank you to everybody up there. Our we'll hit up our GoFundMe again. If there's anything you can do to help out, we would love you to do that. And some people on the PayPal, this is awesome. Tim Gunlock sent us a nice little donation. Thank you so much, Tim. That is very, very awesome of you. Also, another one from, AKA Sauce. Thank you so much. A very generous donation. Thank you so much. This is what I'm talking about. When people make this happen for us, it's amazing. We can't thank you enough. When you go out there and say, here's some love, get those boots on the ground. You give us a lot of energy. You give us the enthusiasm we need. And I can't thank you guys enough for doing that because it means a lot to us. If you're on the YouTube, get on over to the Rokfin if you can. If you can't, don't worry, stay over there. We do have some love too as well on the Rokfin fam. I just want to refresh to make sure to get everybody involved who's leaving the love today. Facts on the ground. We got you, fams. Thank you so much, Jesse. Thank you so much, Misty, or AKA Mindy Moneybags. We love you. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Arem, another one. Thank you so much, Arem. 2 things. 1, badges of honor. 2, to Twitter badges. We don't need those stinking badges. Thank you so much, Fiorella, Pasti, and Johnny. Oz, we love you too as well. Every day you show yourselves of champions. You're unstoppable, even through their mud. And there is a lot of mud now, fam. So we just got to power through it. But we do power through it with your help, and we can't thank you enough. So I think that is everybody, right?
Yeah.
Did I get everybody also on the GoFundMe? I think we did. Thank you, TDE, for that last one. If there's anything you can do to help out with the trip to Honduras, thank you so much. I'm not going to lie, fam. I got a lot of anxiety getting ready to go to Honduras over there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is it's not the safest place. It's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can send the link to our comrade. So I have a lot of anxiety, especially now because I've been hearing of people being detained, not being let through. And then of course with the whole coincidence that, my account's suspended, my alt's suspended. when we're about to cover this. A lot of the coverage, the short videos that we put out, were put out through my account because I have a large following. And so when we don't have that, not many people get to see it. But you're going to have to be looking out on the Convo Couch, via the Convo Couch Twitter, to make sure that you're following right along. So we're working on getting our guest on. And I want to thank all of you guys who have donated and who have, stuck with us through this whole ordeal. I mean, we've been demonetized on YouTube, censored on YouTube, censored on Twitter. Remember, we can't even stream from the Convo Couch Twitter anymore. So we were using mine. And now my account's been attacked, which is kind of crazy considering I haven't done anything to merit that attack. But even if I had, let's say even if I posted something that was, against a vaccine mandate or something, when did we turn into sort of just authoritarian, it's just crazy to me. And we're going to talk about what's happening in Australia on Rokfin only. So make sure to join in. And we have another
Some
one
more love
also.
and PayPal from Faja Rob. Thank you so much for the super PayPal contribution. super PayPal contribution. Fam, also going on that whole thing is that you guys don't hear this all the time. Obviously, we're business partners, but anytime I make a tweet, what am I doing? Fam, share my tweet. Fam, share my tweet. So I count on Fam to share my tweets, and I'll be out there. Fam will probably be, we'll probably share them from the Convo Couch as much as possible. But how long until they can stop us over there? How long can they shut down our voices? So we're going to need all you people out there in Twitter land or, YouTube or Rokfin just to share the dickens of what's going on. We're going to be on the ground again. We're going to show you up close and personal what's really going down there. Not what the New York Times says, not what all these other people say. And there's a lot of hurdles to work through here, not just the suppression, but when we get there, there's going to be hurdles to work with. So please, thank you so much for the support. Make sure you keep sharing, liking, all that good stuff, and we'll get to the bottom of what's going on in Honduras. There are 178 people following on YouTube's over there. People like Robert Hutchings, Frederick Murphy, what's up? Another Worldview Possible, how you doing, buddy? Janto Emily, The Daily Dope Show, how you doing over there? Jilly Love, we love Jilly Love. Ex-Bootlicker, Caps Lock, Jeffrey Kale, all these lovely people over there. Thank you so much. Turncoat Don, we love you. Thank you so much. Like, share, do whatever you can to get the word out. The Convo Couch has protested for Assange. Fam, on the Assange stuff, I really got to tell you, it's been so disappointing seeing people out there, whatnot, calling him this one white dude.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to give a little insight to that real quick, or should I go first? Because I can just tell you really right off the bat, my personal opinion.
Your opinion. Yeah.
Well, it's the fact that it's not just one white dude. The empire, which has gone around this planet, causing death and destruction at the behest of corporations, at the behest of raping countries of their resources, has killed, murdered, displaced so many black and brown people. That's the empire doing that. Nobody has showed us more than Julian Assange. He doesn't just represent one white dude. He's the white dude who opened up our eyes to what the empire is doing more than anybody. He's shown us what is what. He's given us the way to say, look what they're doing. They're not your friends. They're not legit governments. They're evil motherfuckers that go around this world raping people of resources, killing people of color everywhere. So Julian Assange just represents more than some one white dude, fam.
Yeah, and Julian Assange, of course, like you said, without Julian Assange, we wouldn't have WikiLeaks, we wouldn't have the cables, we wouldn't be aware of the exposure. He is both a journalist and a publisher, and he literally just simply published documents. And the United States, of course, is now persecuting journalists all over the world via international jurisdiction. They're trying to make an example of him. He is going to be the one that is getting the example made of, so then they can come after everybody else. And so, of course, mainstream media can own the narrative, which is really what this is about, and which is why we have journalists all over the country now, independent journalists covering things that actually matter, and they're all being silenced or being suppressed, and, it's hard. It's hard to find these things. So.
Well, Teresa Allen, she left a beautiful tip before we get going on the Rokfin. She says, vote and taxes. Not for me, fam. Not me. Let's bring in our guest, fam, because we have an awesome comrade on the ground right now. I call him Dennis the Menace, man, because he can be a thorn in the side for Western media, pushing back against their bullshit narratives of what we experience on the ground in Nicaragua. How you doing over there, Dennis?
Oh, it was so great to hear you guys. Well, has been quite a hectic few days here in Caracas, and well, the election apart, it's also been like my first visit here on the ground in quite a while, in 8 years. So I came with quite a lot of expectation to what how the country has changed, really, how the country has changed, how the country has withstood first the loss of Chavez, and then the sanctions, the constant foreign intervention, and now, of course, this latest electoral test for them in the form of the local and regional mega elections.
So,
but I can tell you one thing.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, I can tell you one thing, that the from everything that I've seen, from the central areas of Caracas to the most humble barrios, people here, they keep living, they keep resisting, they keep smiling, they keep laughing, they keep loving. That is to say, that the good old revolutionary Venezuela is still very much alive.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, how you said you were there 8 years ago. How has the country changed, and what do you see that has happened in terms of, the Maduro government in charge? We get a lot of mainstream media narratives from the West saying that, it is absolute disaster. People are leaving Venezuela because it's so terrible. Simultaneously, we know that, Venezuela is resisting these sanctions, and that's going to have an effect on the public. So I just wanted to hear what you saw there as far as the state of affairs. Oh, I think we lost him for a second. Let's see if he can come back.
All right, we lost him. We'll try to get him back. But that is kind of crazy, fam, because everybody says, if we don't watch our steps, if we turn to socialism, we're going to turn it to Venezuela. Right. And I just want to ask those people, asshole, have you ever gone to Venezuela? No, but I see on the TV that there's nothing in the supermarkets. People are diving in dumpsters and whatnot, and it's really, really bad. So we know it's the socialism that's really killing them. That's what socialism does, fam.
Well, that's the thing. Yes, it's bad in terms of sanctions that the United States is imposing. And so instead of folding and saying, fine, we'll do what you ask, America, so you can stop sanctioning us, Venezuela is resisting. And people are people cry. They're like, it is tough for them to resist these sanctions with everything that's happening. Venezuela doesn't have really good internet. As you can see right now from our comrade that's there, the internet isn't great. It's difficult to communicate. But what they do have is this sense of pride in maintaining their sovereignty, their solidarity against, together as a country, instead of relying on being told what to do and how to behave by the United States government. And so for me, I think it's important that we highlight that and we hear from people like Denis. If we have to hear from him later when he's outside of Venezuela where he has better internet, maybe that's possible. I don't know if you can try to get him back on. But yeah, I know it's tough for him. I know our friends that have been there have really terrible internet, so I know that's an issue. But another thing is when they talk about there's nothing on the shelves. There's a difference between what's on the shelves in Venezuela and what is being taxed. What is coming in from outside of the country and what is given by the government. There are lines. And this is from our friends who have been there and our own research. There are lines because these people, the bread is so much cheaper when Venezuela provides it than when they have to buy it from the outside because of the sanctions, because of the way the West is trying to impose their jurisdiction. They're trying to basically starve them out, what they're trying to do. So what does the Venezuelan government do is they provide these things at a very low cost to the people in Venezuela. There was a video that Max Blumenthal did showing that, just how low cost the fruit was and stuff. And that's there. So that's why there are lines, because this bread is coming out of a tiny kitchen. It's not being mass produced like we're used to. So that's going to be some of the things that you have to sort of weigh when you're judging the country as a whole. Because nobody's saying that there are people that are against the government, that there are people that leave, especially being here in Peru. You see so many Venezuelans that have come here, because of the sanctions. What they don't know is the United States and their allies are the ones that are causing this starvation, this chokehold on the country.
By the way, big ups to Anonymous again, that person, that same person. I want to meet this Anonymous guy or girl giving us another donation. We are past the 20% mark right now and moving forward to try to get to our goal. So thank you so much out there, Anonymous, for doing so. Jonny, is there any clips we can maybe play from his Twitter really quick to show?
Yeah,
because he's done some great work over there, and I want to make sure that we can show some of his clips.
We'll show some of Dennis's clips. He's got a lot of. There he is.
There he is. He went downstairs. He's in the lobby. Rogatyuk.
Yes.
Comrade.
You guys can see me here. Can see me and can hear me, yes?
We can see it here.
We can, yes.
Okay, sorry.
Good. You're great. You're
Okay,
great.
wonderful.
I was
sorry about that.
You're good. It's okay. We know the internet is an issue. I was just asking, like, what did you see in comparison in the last 8 years change, especially since we're hearing a lot of the Western narratives only. We're not hearing the good. How do you see the Venezuelan people right now by comparison to before?
Well, I can tell you one thing, that the economic sanctions have certainly done a great deal of damage to Venezuela. This is something that's especially evident in the kind of the everyday economy, and what I mean by that is that when you go to the shops, when you go to the stores here, the sanctions which were introduced first under the Obama regime, and then after the Trump regime, which then were kind of enforced under the Trump regime, the sanctions targeting the oil industry have effectively cut off a great deal of cash flowing into the economy, and particularly of the dollars. What has that caused is that has effectively accelerated the inflation rate, accelerated the economic crisis that the economy was going through before. It basically really devastated the very core of the economy. So back around in the period between 2016 and 2018, when you saw this period being the hardest. But from what we actually saw after that, what we saw, with Venezuela finding other ways of obtaining currency, other ways of restructuring its economy, is that on one hand side, the economic situation has began to stabilize. This is definitely something that I've noticed. One of the ways in which the government here has been able to do that is first of all through in the financial terms, through a series of devaluations, but also through actually adopting a certain measure which was also adopted by Cuba back in the 1990s, and that is allowing kind of the free circulation of dollars. So allowing for the use of dollars as the currency. And the third reason, which must be mentioned, is that the amount of exchange in the cryptocurrency here has grown exponentially, and we can certainly understand why, as the trade in Bitcoin and other currencies has grown as a response to these sanctions. As a lot of these transactions cannot be blocked by the sanctions which have been put in place, and so we've seen a huge increase in circulation in the economy, and this is evident on the streets. You go to an ordinary shop here in Caracas, and although most of the prices would still be in dollars, but the prices would still be the prices would be on one hand side a lot cheaper than which you find in other countries. But on the other hand side, sometimes it may seem like it's way too expensive for ordinary Venezuelans to afford. As no doubt you've heard throughout most of the media that average minimum monthly wage here is $20 or $30, which the only way you can get that figure is literally just translating the amount from bolivars into dollars, which is actually a wrong way to do, because this amount does not count all the social services which people receive, all the all the aid which the Venezuelan people receive from on the part of the government. And of course, that figure does not include, and figure only includes the the wages people receive in the normal jobs. It does not include a lot of the work which people get paid to in dollars here as well. And of course, as I mentioned, this does not include all the cryptocurrency transactions, which now a great majority of people are using.
Yeah. It makes me want to grab a cigar with you, sit back with the whole cryptocurrency and say, "We told you so, Bitcoin." And even though it has its issues, I am glad to see the people in Venezuela being able to use it and tap into this resource to get around the sanctions, because that is one of the biggest things that are great when it comes to Bitcoin. But tell me about the. Are they still there, Dennis?
I'm still, yeah.
Okay, tell me
You're
about
right.
China and Iran playing a part. From what I understand, that some of the supermarkets, there'll be a lot of Chinese and Iranian products on the shelves. Have you witnessed that at all while your time has been spent there in Caracas?
I'll tell you what, Pastor. This has certainly been the case. I would say that not just in the case of supermarkets, so the products that you see in the supermarkets, but also just the amount of projects that you see around the place. So Iran and China have actually played a huge part in the delivery of medicine to Venezuela during this time of sanctions. Especially COVID-19 vaccines and the equipment required to treat it. As a matter of fact, today I visited one of the most humble neighborhoods of Caracas, Barrio 23 de Enero, or the 23rd of January neighborhood, which is in the western part of Caracas, and it's more well known because this is where is located the mausoleum of Hugo Chavez. Now, that particular neighborhood, what you see and what you find are three different clinics, which are staffed by Cuban doctors using Chinese medicine and sometimes equipment that is made in Iran. So right there, we kind of see like the amalgamation of the international solidarity, which Venezuela has been receiving in order to combat, in this case, the COVID-19 pandemic. But more so, what I've also seen is certainly a lot of Chinese products and Iranian products. There was actually a mega supermarket which was opened here in Caracas last year, which is like an Iranian Venezuelan venture, and that specializes in bringing the foodstuffs from around to Venezuela. I'm gonna check it out tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So we'll be very happy to exactly.
So regarding the election process, you were there in Nicaragua and you witnessed the election process go down, just like we were. Regarding the election process in Venezuela, how was that process in Venezuela, and did the public seem excited to go out and vote?
Well, Venezuelans are always excited to go out and vote. It's actually one of the peculiarities of this Caribbean nation. But I think the elections, which were suddenly were I'd say especially important for two reasons. Number one is because this is the first time which the opposition has participated to a large extent in the elections since. I would say since the 2015 parliamentary elections, because since 2015 up until now, they always chose to boycott the election, calling them a farce, and instead calling for foreign intervention, and instead employing very violent tactics on the streets. So the fact that they changed the game is quite telling. It really sort of marked a very serious defeat in the violent strategy of the opposition. It forced them back into the onto the electoral map, and forced them back into the negotiating table with the government, with the Bolivarian government. And the second reason has actually been the presence of the observers from the European Union, which who also who after observing the process and everything, they in the end they did not say explicitly these elections were fully free, transparent, and fair, even though they were. From my point of view, as an observer, who got a chance to go to the voting centers, but they did verify the procedure. So this kind of a lukewarm statements, kind of mixed statement is still important. Now these two factors, combined with the defeat of the opposition in 20 out of the 23 regions across Venezuela, also goes to ratify the hegemony, the political and cultural hegemony, which the Bolivarian Revolution still has, which Chavismo still has in Venezuela, and also goes to ratify all of the other previous processes, all the other previous electoral processes that have been taking place in Venezuela in the last in the last 6 years that the opposition has been absent.
Yeah, they've been playing this game of like, of course the Maduro government's party won. We didn't participate because we're not going to participate in sham elections. But you, like Fiorella said, you saw the process in Nicaragua. We were talking about it, highly. People that we met, observers in Nicaragua that had been to Venezuela before, said it was the gold standard. Can you talk a little bit about the tabulation part? Did you see anything of the tabulation? Is it uniform across the country, do you know? Or is it specific to the region and how they vote? And how do they count the votes? Do they count them like they did in the juntas where all the parties are representative? Or do they take them to a central tabulation place? Do you know? Did the Venezuelan government open up the door so you can see that?
Well, Pastor, first things first is that the other organization which has also ratified the Venezuelan electoral process has actually been the Jimmy Carter Center,
yes.
which is also known as being I would say in most cases reliable electoral observer coming from the United States and all. With regards to the electoral process itself, the tabulation and the counting. Now, we have to keep in mind that Venezuela uses kind of a double system. So it uses so when a person actually proceeds to vote after the verification of the ID, they actually go use the electronic machine which they have there for voting. So they put in the ID number, their name. They've already been registered. They choose the candidate that they vote for. This is then registered, gets sent straight to the CNE, the electoral authority, and they get a receipt. They get a physical paper receipt, which they then deposit in one of the ballot boxes. So in a way, this is a sort of like a two-way authentication system, if you think so. Their name, the ID number appears on the paper, and it should match the vote, the electronic vote. So if there are any physical ballots which are spoiled, which if anybody tries to spoil the physical ballot, there will still be the record there. The data gets sent to the electoral authority. Now, this doesn't just guarantee transparency. It doesn't just help to authenticate the vote, but it also makes the counting of the votes so much faster. It really accelerates the count. And as you said, there's a central system. There's a central authority which is in charge of that. So the National Electoral Council of Venezuela, which is in charge of this.
Yeah. We got to go observe it and check it out. This sounds very interesting. You're saying there is a paper backup to the electronic vote that's tabulated in the tabulation center. And from what I understand, that what they were telling me, some of the observers, that machine is not accessed until all three parties or all four parties turn a key on the central tabulation or something to make sure that the receipts come out and everything's backed up. I just love to see the whole system as a whole. But from what you're telling me, there is a backup, so that's pretty awesome. Did you have another question?
Yeah, just as a closer, what would you say to the journalist, not even mainstream, but there's a lot of people in the supposed left in America reporting that, Maduro is a dictator, that even though the sanctions are wrong, that Maduro's a dictator and that the elections in Venezuela are not valid because he puts in his own people. What do you say to the leftists espousing that sort of mentality, where they're progressive domestically but have interventionist propaganda talking points when it comes to policy?
Well, first of all, I would say that first of all, the vast majority of these so-called journalists or so-called leftists have never actually set foot in Venezuela, and when they have set foot in Venezuela, it's always been sort of kind of like a guided tour think in some ways. What I would say first and foremost is that they should actually try putting themselves in the shoes of the Bolivarian government here. So, and these are pretty big FN-sized shoes. So you have to contend with a constant military intervention to the country from Colombia. You have to contend with sanctions which have paralyzed your main export industry. You have to contend with a very violent opposition which self-proclaimed itself as being the rules of the country, even though the only thing they have is a virtual presidency, and even that is falling apart. You have to contend with with a whole bunch of other sort of internal and external factors, and in all of this atmosphere, to be able to organize an election, a free and transparent election, and be able and ensure that both the revolutionary forces and the right-wing opposition can participate in an equal manner, that is a miracle. In any other country, in the United States, I mean, that would be completely impossible. Like, imagine for a second if the United States was in the same conditions that Venezuela was before. Do you really think that the United States will be able to organize a democratic process? They know that the United States is not sanctioned, it's not blockaded, and even still, even in these circumstances, you can hardly call it a democratic election.
Yeah. Yes. States doesn't have democratic elections.
We don't have elections. We have seat elections.
Yeah.
My last question, Denis, is that you said the process of counting is pretty fast. What have the results been so far, and what does that mean to the Maduro government? This wasn't a vote for the top of the ticket. These were for other municipals, I believe, and other parts of the assembly.
This was we have to, but these were called the MIGA elections. What does that mean? That means these were the elections for the governorships, regional parliaments, local councils, and also mayoralties. Now the results actually show on one hand side, what we see is that the Chavismo won 20 out of 23 governorships, which is an amazing result, considering all of the factors which I just stated. And it's also been one of the best results which the Bolivarian Revolution has had in these kinds of elections. They also won, I believe, 209 out of 330 mayoralties around the country. So all in all, a very strong result, a very strong showing by Chavismo. But on the other hand side, we also saw a return of some rather peculiar right-wing characters. So in the state of Zulia, which is on the border with Colombia, and is also a key region in the country, because this is where a huge chunk of the country's petroleum industry is located. This region was actually won by the opposition. And this region was won by a man named Manuel Rosales. Now, Manuel Rosales actually kind of belongs to the old guard of the opposition. Who was the governor of Zulia a very long time ago, from 2002, 2006, I believe, and he was also the opposition candidate against Hugo Chavez in the 2006 elections. After which he had to, depart Venezuela because of the amount of corruption that was found in his during his time as governor. But now that he's but now that he's back, that he was able to return, and now that he's back in the political map. His return has kind of been considered on one hand side a failure by the violent part of the opposition. So a huge failure on the part of all this opposition, which has been trying to overthrow Maduro through basically through calling for a military intervention by the United States, through conducting violent actions on the streets. And on the other hand side, it also signals that the opposition, the right-wing opposition, even though it's divided, it has no idea what it's doing for most part. It doesn't have a clear strategy. Still there are some kind of characters that are inside it, which do present a kind of a challenge in some ways, to the Bolivarian government.
Denis, thank you very much for coming on and sharing this information with us. We really appreciate having you on, and good luck. Is there anywhere else you're going? Is there anything that you have coming up that you want to let the audience know about?
Well, certainly, I'm heading to Chile next, and that is another kind of political situation which is both inspiring and worrying. Inspiring because of we see this year we saw finally the creation of the Constituent Assembly and the process of rewriting the Pinochet-era constitution. But it's worrying that in the presidential election, in the first round of presidential elections, which took place also on Sunday, 21st, the far right candidate Jose Cast came up first. I would say came up first, followed very, very closely by the left-wing candidate Gabriel Boric. And since Chile has a two-round system, we're yet to see what the result will be like in the second round. But that's another situation that should definitely be monitored.
Yeah. And Denis, do you want to say anything about Julian Assange before you get out of here? Because he means a lot to a lot of us. So.
He means a lot to all of us, really. All of us who are dedicated to this creed of journalism, on journalism, but also the people's journalism of combating the corporate media giants. And always, I think to myself, any one of us can be Julian tomorrow. Any one of us can be, snatched up and possibly extradited to the United States just because our work really demonstrates to the world the evils of imperialism, the evils of neoliberalism. We are kind of in the trench of combating corporate giants, and we are in this trench of fighting for media freedom. So, as I always say, freedom for Julian Assange.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Denis. We'll share a purro soon in Latin America. I'm sure we will, brother. Thank you so much for coming on, bro.
I'm looking forward to it.
You
Thanks
got
a
it,
lot, guys.
Be safe, comrade. Denis the Menace.
I got you calling people comrade now. The plan has worked extremely well. Okay.
I'm probably going to get crap for that, you know what I'm saying? But you know what? Who cares at this point? By the way, Catherine Rose Cadets jumped on our GoFundMe. Catherine Rose, love you. Thank you so much. We are moving up the ladder when it comes to our goal there to help the Convo Couch cover the elections in Honduras, especially after today, after we've gotten the fascist tactics of the technocrats that are trying to silence us, just like Denis said. With Julian Assange, they silence him. They can silence anybody.
Yeah. And that's, what he said about Julian is important to all of us, is absolutely true. I mean, especially now, all those words are ringing so true. When, they're going after him, they're going after me, they're going after everybody. When they go after one of us, they go after all of us.
Yeah.
They want to stop that information getting where it needs to be. And that's their method of doing it. Oh, Julian Assange was a rapist, a Trumper, Russiagator, libertarian, pro-Bitcoin. Oh no, Julian Assange must not have any validity because of whatever personal beliefs he may have. I don't give a shit if Julian Assange was a conservative. The fact that he was jailed for exposing U.S. war crimes is the thing. And that is something we need to all remember, because we are in the business of exposing U.S. war crimes. So this isn't, a glamorous job. It's not like Pasta gets to wear a suit and I get my own, little studio that makeup artist and all this crap that the CNN, the MSNBC, and all these people get that cost millions of dollars that have the budget. They don't do real journalism. They're public relations specialists. They manage narratives, and the real people who do journalism, the people's journalism, as Dennis was just saying, are the ones who heard and who should be protected. So just remember that, and we want to thank everybody for doing it.
Yeah, Anonymous. This person's amazing. I love you, Anonymous, whoever you're out there.
Such a goof.
I am a goof, but thank you for Anonymous for leaving another lovely tip as well. And yeah, fam, ditto to what was said about Julian Assange and what happens to the people out there trying to give you the real journalism. Thank you to everybody over on the Rokfin right now, all those people who left those lovely raid tokens, and a thank you to people who hit us up on the PayPal. It's you who are keeping us going. And I really like the fact it was a surprise, fam. Let's talk about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin being used in Venezuela. And, I was on a show the other day, and there was somebody we were kind of pushing back. We had a great conversation. Some people, we like to say chirping from the bleachers is what I like to say, but some people in the chat had some differences, whatnot. But when you go to the global south and you see that this can be used to get around sanctions, to help people eat, to help people get medication, to help people get housing, it means a lot. And once again, I'm saying right now, I don't think it's the final answer, but I think it's the next answer. And I'd like to see a little bit more about this and come to fruition. And we'll figure out what's going on. We do have to pay attention to the dangers of it. But to see that happening in Venezuela, them using that is very rewarding of sorts. And I like it because it does mean a lot. Money doesn't just mean dollars and cents. It means resources. And yes, I'd like to see the whole system kind of change, fam, but we are in a system where we're at, and in the global south, you understand how the American dollar, the US dollar, is tied to all these countries. How people still depend on it and need to go through it. So going around it is very rewarding in a way.
Yeah, I agree with you on that aspect. I definitely don't think Bitcoin or any sort of cryptocurrency is going to be the final solution, because it's still the system that's operating. There are some things that they can't do on Bitcoin because of the way it's set up. Let's say a big rich Jeff Bezos comes in, buys out a huge portion of it. Good for him, but it's also good for anybody that has Bitcoin. Well, and it legitimizes it. Yeah. So those are things that we have to, when you're criticizing Bitcoin, I think it's important to note that it can be used. We are seeing it in Nicaragua, we're seeing it in Central America, and even in South America, how people are more and more working class people of color are trying to really offset the corruption in their countries, and of course the IMF in countries like Venezuela and in Nicaragua, and now obviously in El Salvador. Nobody's saying that it's free of criticism, that it's the final answer, but the fact that you can use it to avoid sanctions is pretty much a big deal. That's going to help a lot of working people. So that's that. I'm probably the most skeptical out of the three of us on that Bitcoin. But from an anti-imperialist perspective, I don't see how bad thing.
To going around sanctions, with sanctions kill, sanctions are an act of war. There are some great things about it, like we said, and also too finding the solution. Let us know what the other alternative is, because right now it seems like the only alternative is the fiat dollar of the West, which is just fucking supported not by gold, not by silver, not by natural resources, but by a gun, by a missile, by the military, by imperialism, and that's something that we have to move away from. So if that's the two choices, I know where I'm going, but a lot remains to be seen. Fam, this last part over here, we're going to jump over to Rokfin only, correct?
Yeah.
All right, guys.
So for this last part, guys, let's go ahead and put the link in the chat, in the YouTube chat. We're leaving YouTube, so please come on to the Rokfin. You're gonna wanna hear this, and then it's gonna be a quick segment because we gotta prepare. We're flying out in like less than 12 hours, so we gotta really get. And yeah, and this just traveling with COVID stuff is extremely just a headache.
Stressful.
So yeah, it's extremely stressful. So please bear with us. We're just gonna go over this stuff on Rokfin. I think we could probably get away with it on YouTube, but let's just go to Rokfin because I want to really say a lot on this issue because it's disgusting what is happening. It is an absolute fascistic
Oh yeah.
situation happening in Australia.
And we told you.
And we told you this was going to happen.
We told
Steve
you.
is out there like, you know, like the meme, saying, "But I fucking told you guys."
Oh.
Yeah, like this, I don't even know where to begin, but we'll begin shortly as soon as we're off of
But wait
YouTube.
1 second. Before everybody leaves YouTube, I just want to say thank you to Bobby James for the Super A contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. I think the people of YouTube deserve to see that before we left. But thank you very much to everybody out there. Thank you, Bobby
And you got
James.
Teresa?
I got Teresa Allen.
Okay.
We talked about it.
Okay.
Voting taxes, not me, she
Yes.
says. Thank you for that generous contribution. Thank you, everybody else,
you,
too, as
all of
well.
you.
The PayPal, the GoFundMe, the Rokfin, the Patreons, everybody. And once again, even if you ain't got a few bucks, thank you for sharing. Thank you for liking it. It means the world to us. Get on over to Rokfin. That's ROKFIN. We'll see you there.
Yeah.
All right.